Hitman Howie T, born Howard Thompson, may not have been the most famous name in the mainstream charts, but his fingerprints are woven deeply into the DNA of hip-hop and R&B as we know them today. His story is not just one of beats and bars, it's one of influence, culture, identity, and the kind of quiet mastery that shapes entire genres without ever asking for recognition. His death marks the passing of a true architect of sound, an unassuming genius, whose legacy will continue to echo through the music of those he touched and the generations that followed in his sonic footsteps. Howard Thompson was born in London to Jamaican parents, and his multicultural roots would later help shape his musical identity. Eventually, his family settled in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, a vibrant, dynamic neighborhood that played a major role in the early shaping of New York's hip-hop scene. Growing up amid the bustling melting pot of Caribbean, African American, and Latino cultures in Brooklyn, Howie T developed an ear for rhythm, layering, and groove at a young age. But unlike many of his contemporaries who sought the spotlight, Howard was most comfortable behind the scenes, working his magic on samplers, turntables, and mixing boards, crafting sounds that would become the foundation for some of hip-hop's most memorable records. It's not an exaggeration to say that Hitman Howie T was instrumental in the careers of many artists who themselves went on to shape the genre. He did production work on early records that launched the careers of Special Ed, Chubb Rock, The Real Roxanne, and UTFO, names that are legendary within the true hip-hop community, even if they aren't as globally recognized as some of today's chart toppers. His work was grounded in funk, soul, reggae, jazz, and rock, filtered through a hip-hop lens and presented with clarity and power. Each track he touched bore his sonic signature, complex but never cluttered, groovy but never gimmicky. He had a unique ability to blend styles, drawing from his Jamaican heritage, his British birthplace, and his Brooklyn upbringing, making him one of the most versatile and forward-thinking producers of his era. In the late 1980s, Howie T found a home as the in-house producer for Select Records, a label that would become a key player in the development of East Coast hip-hop. With Select, he helped push artists to new heights, giving them not just beats to rap over, but full-fledged soundscapes that helped define their identity. One of the clearest examples of this is Special Ed's breakout single, I Got It Made. The song is now considered a classic, but at the time, it was a revelation: smooth, confident, dripping with youthful charisma, and backed by one of the funkiest, cleanest beats of the decade. That track alone cemented Howie T's reputation as someone who could take raw talent and elevate it into something iconic. But he wasn't finished. Around the same time, he also crafted Chubb Rock's Treat 'Em Right, a high-energy anthem that combined social consciousness with club-ready rhythms. Both songs climbed the Billboard charts and helped bring a more polished, radio-friendly sound to East Coast hip-hop without compromising its integrity or grit. But Howie T wasn't just a hip-hop guy. He had range, and he proved it in the early 1990s when he crossed over into the world of R&B and pop. In 1991, he co-produced two of Color Me Bad's biggest hits, I Wanna Sex You Up and All for Love. These tracks were not only radio smashes, but cultural touchstones, defining the sound of early 90s slow jams and New Jack Swing. I Wanna Sex You Up reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, staying in heavy rotation on radio and TV, while All for Love went all the way to number 1, beating out none other than Michael Jackson's Black or White. That's right, Hitman Howie T, the quiet genius from Brooklyn, dethroned the king of pop on the charts. It's a fact that rarely gets mentioned in retrospect, but one that speaks volumes about the breadth of his talent and the power of his music. His versatility didn't stop there. Over the years, Howie T worked with a range of artists across multiple genres. He remixed tracks from Madonna, giving the pop icon a taste of his distinct flavor. He collaborated with Heavy D, adding his magic touch to tracks that fused hip-hop with soul and dancehall. He also worked with Little Sean and other up-and-comers, always staying ahead of the curve, always adapting, always innovating. He wasn't just following trends, he was helping to create them, quietly and consistently, without ever demanding the spotlight for himself. But perhaps one of Howie T's most lasting legacies lies in his role as a mentor. He wasn't just a beatmaker, he was a teacher, a guide, a quiet force behind the scenes who helped younger artists find their sound and their voice. One of the most notable examples is Spencer Bellamy, who went on to gain underground fame as East Flatbush Project, with the gritty, minimalist classic Tried by 12. That track, with its haunting Asian sample and stark beat, has been used and remixed by countless artists, a testament to its raw power and timeless appeal. Bellamy credited Howie T with helping him develop not just his technical skills, but his entire approach to music. That's the kind of influence that can't be measured in chart positions or sales figures. It's the kind that reverberates through the culture, through the community, through time itself. Despite all this, Hitman Howie T never truly received his due from the mainstream. He never became a household name like Dr. Dre or Timbaland or Pharrell, but within the hip-hop community, among those who know the history and the craft, his contributions are deeply respected. His work represents a golden era of hip-hop where beats were made by hand, samples were dug up in dusty crates, and producers worked in small studios with limited technology but unlimited creativity. It was a time when music was made with love, with purpose, with soul, and Howie T was one of the finest craftsmen of that era. Questlove, a student and steward of music history, offered one of the most poignant tributes to Howie T upon hearing of his passing. Second to Mark 45 King, I feel like Howie was such an unsung monster of a producer during hip-hop's early development. He wrote, "I know Della was a life-changing moment for us, but Howie was a cat who definitely crossed the aisle when it came to unusual music. I mean, for special ed, he put the Beatles and Ripple in the same box. I was mind blown." That's not just praise, it's a testimony from one of today's most respected musicians, underscoring just how innovative and fearless Howie T was as a producer. The ability to blend the Beatles with Ripple, to cross musical boundaries, and bring together seemingly incompatible styles, was emblematic of Howie's genius. He didn't see genres, he saw possibilities. When we talk about unsung heroes in music, we often forget the ones who operate from the shadows, the ones who build the stage rather than perform on it. Howie T was one of those people. He didn't chase fame. He didn't appear on magazine covers. He didn't flood social media with self-promotion. Instead, he let the music speak for itself. And speak it did. From the boroughs of New York to the top of the Billboard charts, from underground mixtapes to dance floors around the world, his sound traveled far and wide, touching hearts, moving bodies, and inspiring minds. There's a kind of poetic symmetry in the fact that Howie T came from such a diverse background: Jamaican roots, British beginnings, and Brooklyn hustle. It made him a cultural bridge, someone who could draw from multiple traditions and turn them into something new. His music was a conversation between continents, a dialogue between generations, a fusion of styles that anticipated the globalized sound of the 21st century. Long before the internet made cross-cultural collaborations easy, Howie T was doing it in his own way, in his own time, with his own tools. His death leaves a void not just in the music industry, but in the fabric of hip-hop itself. Yet, in many ways, he never really left. His influence is embedded in the beats that boom from speakers today, in the sampling culture that still thrives in modern production, in the mentorship models that young producers follow when they lift up the next generation. Every time a young artist digs into the archives, finds an old Howie T beat, and feels inspired to create something new, a piece of his spirit lives on.